got there at 6 o'clock. Them and Fort Dodge PD was there as well. What we know is that there was a reported explosion in that neighborhood. Officially, it was North 16th Avenue, which is right off of North 31st Street, which I think I said North 31st Street earlier today. Here's the deal. I didn't have an address when I went out there. I had an area. And I drove till I found the fire trucks because I'm not from here. I don't know.
That's right.
So if bear with me in that regard.
You're a hell of a job there.
But I found them because at the point that I went out, there hadn't been an address given that I knew of, and I was just given a general area I found. It's not that hard to find when it's something that big, right? You figure it out. So I figured it out. It was right out by Fort Dodge Middle School in that area.
Yeah.
And so what we do know now is that there was one unit that caught on fire this morning. The fire department was able to get there.
Now, is this an apartment building? Or?
It is. It's what you would call a quadruplex building.
Right.
So it's 4 units within the building.
Yep.
They were able to keep it contained. The fire department was to 1 unit. Once they were able to do that, all the occupants had already evacuated the building. So there was no occupants left in the building. There was, when it was originally reported, there was the possibility that said that it may have been a meth lab that exploded. I talked to the police department today, and we've issued a statement from them that says that they do not believe that it was a meth lab that exploded. So they, from that standpoint, they don't believe that was the case. So we wanted to get that out there that people knew that they don't believe that. Now, there was an arrest made on the scene this morning. Gabriel Cunningham, 22-year-old Gabriel Cunningham, was arrested of Fort Dodge. He was arrested this morning
for what?
For interference with official acts
at a fire.
And possession of drug paraphernalia.
I love Fort Dodge.
So I don't know. And I didn't get an answer on, at least in deadline as of right now. I've not gotten an answer about what specifically he did. And I'd also like to know drug paraphernalia, what paraphernalia he had.
Oh yeah.
Because when you're talking about, a possible meth lab explosion and you say that you don't think that it happened. Okay, well, how did this guy get arrested and what drug? Why did he have drug paraphernalia? Like, it seems to be related. You want to connect the dots, right? That's my job, to try to connect the dots. So I'm still trying to figure that part out. The fire department has issued a statement this afternoon that says the cause of the fire is still under investigation. So the police department says they don't believe that it was a meth lab that caused the explosion. The fire department says that they don't know what the cause is. So as of right now, we're sitting at not knowing exactly what happened, other than we know there was a fire. We know that somebody was injured. Cunningham was taken to the hospital to be treated for injuries, and we know that he was arrested. So we know those things as of right now. Luckily, no people died. There was one family pet that died in the incident, and that's unfortunate.
That is unfortunate.
But at least no people died. And, I don't know the severity of the injuries, but to my knowledge, they are not critical. They were not listed as critical in any of the reports, and generally they are when that happens. So that's what we know so far, and it's kept me busy because it started as being on the scene and all that, and then contacting the police department and talking to them throughout the day. And then the fire department had their statement this afternoon. So it's been kind of one thing we've updated after another throughout the day.
That's right. I've been kicked out of a lot of places in my life, but never a fire. That meth must really do something crazy to people.
I have no idea what happened with that. I'm still trying to figure out and see if I can get an incident report on what happened in the arrest, because there's an arrest report, obviously, because there always is.
Sure.
So I'd like to know what's contained there. But
you haven't seen it yet?
I have not seen that part of it. No.
All right.
I did ask for it at about 9 this morning, and then about 3 this afternoon, I got an email back. Oh, sorry, I was out of the office. And did you get what you needed? Oh, no, I didn't. And now my deadline's passed. So
now your deadline is passed.
But
Well,
we've
we've
got
gotten-
what we need from that standpoint. But I would like to be able to connect the dots a little bit more.
Well, we've got more information out there about this than the Fort Dodge Messenger is going to have. I'll tell you that. They probably had it on one of their breaking news segments. But I always like it when they have breaking news, and we've had the story for 3 or 4 hours. You know?
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't want to disparage.
Breaking news.
I don't want to disparage anybody there because it's a different.
That's my
it's
job.
a
I'll
different
do
deal.
it. I'll do it.
What they do and what we do is a different deal.
Yeah,
you know
it
what I
is.
mean.
Yeah,
It
they're
really
a-
is.
They're a 19th century information delivery device, and we're not. There you go.
Well,
Good.
on the counter to that, though, people would say that they're more thorough, and they probably are.
Maybe.
I mean, you know, they write
As
a
long as
big bunch of words, you know,
Yeah,
to
a
accompany
bit-
the story.
But it's
and-
typing. It's not analysis. It's not writing.
well,
It's typing.
I mean,
You know, since I've been over here, I've, if there's some situation in town, I'll at least try to get people on the air to explain what's going on or their side of it or whatever.
well, they
not-
usually have quotes from people.
Yeah, that's right.
They usually do.
They do.
Like I don't want to disparage them. Like I know a lot of people down there, and I like. a
You're
lot of
just
people down
sweetness
there.
and light, aren't you?
Well, I got my own stuff to deal with. I don't need any problems with anybody else.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying there.
And
You-
on
you
the flip
understand
side
my-
of that, when you talk about that paper, though, I will say this: like I'm relatively friends, I guess you would say. I would consider that I'm friends with their sports department. I think their sports department is great. I really
That's
do.
one thing they do real well. Dana Becker and
Eric Pratt, Chris
they
Johnson.
they do a great
do a
job.
good job.
over there. Pratt's a good writer.
Yep.
And
They got their finger on the pulse.
They
you know,
do.
they really do. So
They
I
do.
give them a lot of credit in the sports department, and they've always been really good about if they have information that I can use or vice versa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we work together. So
yeah.
so I don't want to disparage anybody at the paper.
No, I don't blame you there. I don't blame you there, but especially in the sports department. You know, yeah. Anything else? I'll just have to handle over here, I guess.
I mean, hey, this is your platform. You're
This
free
is-
to have
yeah.
your own opinion. You know
That's
what I mean?
right. Well, I like to think it's factual, but I am the doctor of truth. Need I remind you?
I mean, you know, hey, what do they say? Tell your truth. I mean, your truth may not be my
No.
truth.
I don't believe in subjective truth. I believe in objective truth. You know,
Okay.
and that objectivity comes from me directly. Rob Jones is our guest here at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. You did a pretty comprehensive sports report at the top of the hour, of course.
Well, thank you. Yes, that was what we had from last night with baseball and softball. There's a lot going on. So,
yeah, there is.
it's a lot.
Well, I
to
got
report
Nevin
on.
and Randy coming tomorrow. Of
Mhm.
course. They'll be.
They're going to fill in the gaps. of
They're
what I
gonna.
missed,
Well,
right?
no, they're not. I mean, the reason I got to bring you in here is because you cover local sports. you know.
Yeah,
Nevin and Randy will talk basketball all day long. you know.
right.
I don't care. As I said,
I've not watched a minute of the NBA playoffs. Not a
Haven't
minute.
you really?
I haven't had time.
well, and I subscribe to at least one online sports magazine. That's The Athletic.
Okay,
Now,
yeah.
The Athletic tries to get too liberal on me every now and then with their interpretations of sports, and I chew them out regularly. But they've been carrying on and on lately about LeBron James leaving the floor when his team was getting their butts kicked.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I thought, who cares?
Well, I think what they're saying is like if you're counted on to be a leader, you should be there. Even in
That's
bad
what they're
times,
saying.
yeah.
You know,
I don't ever remember Jordan coming off the floor in that situation.
well, maybe he had and LeBron's a competitor. Come on, you know that he's been around a long time. I will watch a game simply if he's on the floor. Now, I enjoyed it better when he was with the Heat and the Cavaliers than I did with the Lakers because the Lakers were kind of the showboat Hollywood thing from the 1980s when Jack Nicholson and all these stars were at the court all the time.
Right.
I found that really boring. Come on, man, play ball, And so I'm inclined to give LeBron a little bit of a break every now and then. He's done a lot of good in his life. Yeah, I don't go along with him with his Black Lives Matter advocacy, but this is the United States of America. People are allowed to disagree, and they shouldn't be pounced on for it.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with that. Like I think he's a great player. I don't care for some of his politics.
Who cares? I like to watch him
but
play
he's a good
ball.
player. I
He's a
mean,
great player.
I can't doubt that. I get a little tired of the, anti-American sentiment sometimes that
Boring.
he puts off. I get a little tired of that because I love my country. Despite the flaws, I love my country, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Everybody has flaws. Every country has flaws. Every union in the world, we all have our little things.
Well, we're made up of people, and people have flaws.
There you go. You know, isn't that amazing?
Somebody once asked me one time, how do you feel when people criticize you? And I said, well, I feel fine. And they're like, well, what do you mean? How you take the criticism being in the public eye? And I said, well, they criticized Jesus and he was perfect.
Yeah.
And of course they're going to criticize me because I'm far from perfect.
Oh, come on. You're being modest. You're perfect, aren't you?
No.
You are the Rob.
I am who I am, but it isn't perfect.
And that's what they see. And that's what these constant critics and social media types out there seem to expect is perfection in all ways. And by the way, just because you disagree with someone doesn't mean the other person is wrong. You might be wrong, or your opinions may just differ.
Or maybe something that's completely up to the interpretation too.
Exactly.
Where is how you interpret it. You know what I mean?
I still, as far as pure enjoyment of a sport, as far as basketball goes, you see my poster up here of Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
he was great to watch.
I'm a Jordan guy. I think he's the greatest player to ever play.
Yeah, I do too. There's a lot of pushback on that, and I understand that. Everybody's got and there's a lot of great players out there. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
Jordan reminded me of Julius Erving. That's before your time, but Julius Erving was a great player with the 76ers and a couple others. And
I know who Doc
is.
I've seen a lot of his old stuff, like his film, you know, after
he just had this big old afro, you know, and he'd be dribbling the ball down the court or going up for something, that his hair would be going everywhere way. And I just found the whole thing pretty
he
good.
just he could glide through the air. Like, you know, the difference I think between him and Jordan was Doc didn't really, I mean, Jordan, when he became a complete player in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, like he added the ability to shoot the ball and to post guys up and hit that fadeaway and all that stuff. And Doc didn't do as much in that regard.
No, he didn't.
But just watch a guy, you know, out on the transition and fast break. I mean, Doc was amazing. He was amazing. Just glide down the floor and then glide through the air and, you know, all that kind of stuff. I mean, he could do some amazing stuff. And the thing is he didn't come to the NBA he was in the ABA for a few years. So like when he came, you think about, he would have had another, I guess it was 4 or 5 years he was in the ABA of you seeing him in the NBA. So by the time he got to the NBA, he had been playing pro for 4 or 5 years.
Sure.
You know, so you think about that probably would have made a difference. You know, if you look at his stuff from the ABA with the New Jersey Nets, I mean, you know, that was when he could just glide everywhere and he could jump. And if you jumped with him, he could hang in the air and, and just could do all kinds of stuff in the air. I mean, he was amazing too.
You're not that much of a baseball fan, are you? Or are you?
I like baseball. My thing is like the major league game. I don't watch it as much anymore because where am I going to get 4 hours? I barely got 4 hours to sleep, eat, and shave every day.
You do, you know. And I'm a baseball fan. That's still my favorite sport. Followed closely by football, but I do find 3 or 4 hours on a Saturday to watch college football, or even sometimes pro football. But as far as baseball goes, it's a much more slow-paced game. Yeah, I mean, they've tried to pick it up with some success, and I still love baseball, but I just can't sit there. It's like watching golf, you know. I admire the professional golfers or people of great skill and flamboyance on occasion, but I can't sit there and watch Phil Mickelson, even if he's setting a record at the age of 50. I can't sit there and do it.
I mean, you could do like my dad and watch NASCAR, and he watches about the first 10 or 15 laps, then he falls asleep, then he wakes back up for like the last 15 laps. So like he missed all the middle stuff, and he got his nap in, and he saw the beginning and the end, and that's all you need to know.
Your father's a wise man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I should do that with baseball. I should just watch first couple of innings and take a nap and wake up in the 9th or something.
Yeah, and there you go. Or, you know, you could just like, if I want to find out what happened at baseball, just go on the internet and look at the box score, and that pretty much tells me, at least to a degree, what happened. I don't have to watch it. Yeah. So I took 3 minutes to find out what you found out, but it took you 4 hours. You know what I mean?
Actually, what you really have to watch the game to understand the game. You just can't watch the highlights, frankly. I don't think. But
Well, I used to watch baseball, and I played baseball. I was a pretty decent baseball player.
were you?
Yeah, and so for me, you know, it was like I was all into it at that point. But then as I got older, and you know, I like covering it. I cover baseball. Matter of fact, I'm going to do the Fort Dodge doubleheader tomorrow against Sioux City North, and it's at McNeil Field. So if you try to go to the game, that's the field right next to Dodger Stadium. Okay,
When is the game?
that's tomorrow. 5 o'clock first pitch.
5
Is a
o'clock first.
doubleheader tomorrow.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, we're gonna have it on Sunday 99.7 tomorrow.
Who they playing?
Sioux City North coming
Sioux
to town.
City, no.
Should be an interesting doubleheader. But I grew up around baseball. I like baseball. Still like baseball, but I like it at the college and high school levels a little bit more than I like it at the pro level now. I just don't have the time to invest in it like I did. But I mean, I grew up, you know, the Braves got hot whenever I was a kid, and you know, I mean, every day.
Early 90s was probably a good time.
chop, and you know what I mean? Like, they had the phone.
Gotta watch that chop now. You're gonna be racist if you do that.
I didn't realize that
Oh,
was
yeah.
against the rules now. Sorry.
I think Jane Fonda said that, and everybody said, "Shut up."
Well, Deion Sanders, he was the one who kind of brought it there
I think he was
from Florida State.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Because they did it at Florida State, and
That's
he's like,
right,
"Oh,
they
we're
did.
the Braves," and they started doing it in Atlanta, the old Fulton County Stadium.
But Jane Fonda's like 80 or some years old now, and she was on my YouTube the other day giving a lecture on white privilege.
Oh,
And I thought, white privilege. Jane Fonda, one of the most privileged white women in the world, in history. You're going to start telling me about white privilege.
yeah. It's what do they call it? Virtue signaling.
I believe it is.
I think that's
virtue
what that
signaling.
is.
It's painful coming from Jane
And,
Fonda.
yeah.
Just
So sometimes people are just not qualified to talk about certain
and
things.
she would be one of them.
And there are things I'm not qualified to talk
That's
about, and that's why I usually don't talk about the things I'm not qualified to talk
I think that's a good policy. Of course, if you're the doctor of truth, you're qualified to talk about nearly anything.
I mean, you know, and you've got 3 hours to do it, so have at it, I guess. You know, but I try
I've
to
been
refrain.
wrong many times on this program.
I
Many
try to
times.
refrain from things that I'm not qualified to talk about.
All
I mean,
right.
I think that's a pretty solid policy to have.
I got a book for my 40th birthday called Everything I Know About Sex. And I opened it up and it was blank pages. and my girlfriend at the time was the one that gave that to me.
I'm telling you what, man, like you're steering the boat and trying to steer me in a direction, and I'm not letting you take me anywhere I don't want to go, man.
I know that. Yeah, I'm not really trying to steer. I'm just being mean.
Well, okay. But
No.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. You talked about, you know, local sports, so there's a lot going on. I mean, we said in the report, you know, St. Emma softball got a big win in your old stomping ground last night in Algona. 3-2 in extra innings last night. That's a big win for them. Biggest one of the season thus far. You look at St. Emma baseball lost to Algona. Algona's got a pretty solid squad in baseball this year. I'm actually going to have their baseball coach, Chad Slagle, on the coaches show on Saturday morning, which I'll plug that while I'm talking.
Sure.
Hy-Vee Fort Dodge Coaches Corner, 9 a.m. on Saturday on Sunny 99.7. You can also pick that up on our website, yourfortdodge.com. And I'll be live there at Hy-Vee Saturday morning. We've got a big lineup going on tomorrow or on Saturday. Blake Utley is going to join me, and we're going to talk Fort Dodge baseball. Andy Adams, Fort Dodge softball coach, Chad Slagle from Algona baseball. Southeast Valley's Sheridan Gilo, Southeast Valley softball coach, Southeast Valley baseball be featured on the program, Manson, Northwest Webster as well. So we're running the gamut on that program with giving everybody as much content from around the area as we can. So we're looking forward to that. That again is the Hy-Vee Fort Dodge Coaches Corner Show, 9 a.m. on Saturday morning on Sunny 99.7, yourfortdodge.com.
There you go, man. So tomorrow at 5, we got baseball.
We got a doubleheader baseball on Sunday 99.7. Dodgers taking on Sioux City North, and Fort Dodge from week 1 to week 2, last week to this week, they have started to take some big strides in the right direction. Good. You know, Monday, Memorial Day, the day where you couldn't find where the baseball game was. You're
not going to let me go on that, are you?
I really am not. And,
that's okay. See, that's 2 screw ups in one weekend. I couldn't find the baseball game because it was out to Harlan Rogers. And then I came in on